الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء وخاتم المرسلين سيدنا ونبينا بالقاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين واللعنة الدائمة الباقية لأعدائهم من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد, brothers and sisters, Salam alaikum wa rahmatullah. That much mass, multitasking should be okay, huh? Okay. Alhamdulillah, we have come to the last day of the program that I'm here with you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our endeavors and our discussions here. May He accept it with sincerity and make it a zukhra and a reward for us in the hereafter. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive if there was any mistakes done in this presentations and the discussions. Last night we looked at one of the eight advices that the Grand Ayatullah Sistani had given to the youths of Europe in response to their letter, and that was about the issue of family life. And I wanted to tie that with the theme of marriage and divorce that we had in Surah Al-Talaq. I thought maybe instead of going to another theme, I'll just select one more advice from the great Marja, and this is about the importance of seeking knowledge and gaining expertise in whatever field that you have acquired for yourself. It's important to see that a religious leader of our time is emphasizing on the youths in the West especially to excel in the field of knowledge. And so we'll go through this. It's kind of a lengthier advice than the ones we looked at it last night. So the third point that the Grand Ayatollah Sistani had was the issue of education. And it begins with the wordings that try to learn a trade and acquire a specialty and exhaust yourself and work hard in that pursuit. So don't just leave it to the minimum. Whatever you are doing, put your heart into it. Go all the way. Indeed, there are many blessings in this, and this is where he is emphasizing, you should be busy in whatever trade or skill that you are, capable of that. And he says there are many blessings in this. Number one, it occupies a portion of your free time. If a person is idle, doing nothing, this is where Shaitan says, okay, he is a more, vulnerable victim for me. You can support yourself and your family. If you are in work and doing your work in a good way, you will support yourself and your family. You will also benefit your society. And not only that, you can do good deeds using the money you earn. So, if you're getting more, no problem. You can even share with the less fortunate members of the community or work in projects which are good for the society. You gain experience which sharpens your mind and increases your expertise. And your wealth becomes more blessed. When you acquire wealth because of hard work, there is more blessing in it. Somebody might inherit millions. It's good, there's nothing wrong, no shar in that. But it doesn't have that pleasure because you just inherited without really doing anything. And this is where he ends by saying that is so because the harder wealth is earned, the more blessed and pleasant it is. Emphasizing this issue of being hardworking, he says, Almighty God loves the hardworking people who exhausts, himself, a hardworking person who exhausts himself with work and trade. And Allah dislikes the idle person who is dependent on others and spends his time in play and diversion. So be sufficient, work for yourself, don't be dependent on the people. Referring to the youth age, emphasizing there that he says, do not waste your wealth without learning a trade or specialty. Almighty God has put in youth bodily and spiritual energies so that a person can acquire skills he can use for the rest of his life. So during the young age, this is the time where you learn so that you can use the skills and the expertise you have acquired for the rest of your life. Do not waste it in play and negligence. Attend to all your vocation and speciality until you become proficient in it. There's somebody sitting in Najaf. We say, oh, they are sitting there. What do they know how the world works? Huh? Then he says, do not speak without knowledge. In whatever you are doing, be responsible in what you are saying. Do not practice without experience. If you do not know or cannot do something, acknowledge your deficiency and apologize to your clients or customers, or refer them to those more experienced than you are. This increases your credibility in their eyes. This goes in all professions, including the task that people like me take on. I remember my great father, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevate his status and position, when he took me to Qum. I was just 15 years old at that time. My whole family was there. So when they were leaving after a week at Tehran airport, he actually gave me 3 advice. One of those 3 was that if you find yourself in a very huge, audience, and if there is a question asked of you that you do not know, you don't hesitate in saying, I don't know. And what he said, that became part of my subconscious. I didn't have to really hesitate or feel uncomfortable. If I don't know, I say, I don't know. I look into it, and get you the answer later on. This is what Sistani is saying, that if you don't have the knowledge of what your client or your customer is asking for, don't give the response without knowledge. Do your work with interest, attention, and enjoyment. Do not make it your goal to just collect money even from impermissible sources. For there is no blessing in forbidden wealth. A person who acquires wealth from haram sources is prone to adversity sent to him by God that will make him part away with the money on top of his affliction and toil, and the akhirah azab will be there. Such wealth does not make one rich in this life and becomes a curse in the here life. And this is where, if you remember the ayat from Surah Al-Talaq, Man yattaqillah yaj'al lahu makhrajan. Whoever has this taqwa of Allah and fears displeasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will find a way out for him from his problems. This is where I say, you have an opening, a job opening, but it is haram. Say, what do I do? Islam says I should take care of my family and myself. Well, you had to do that, but through halal means, not through haram. And if you don't see anything today, don't go for the haram. When you refrain from it, that is an example of your taqwa. وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهِ. When whoever has taqwa, Allah says, I will find a makhraj, an exit out for you from your problems. Then he says, make yourself the scale with which you measure your conduct with others. Do to others what you do to yourself, and what you would have them to do to you. So this is the golden principle. All religions talk about it. Be kind to people as you would like God, the glorified, to be kind to you. Then he comes to something even more important about emphasizing this point of not giving a statement without knowledge. Then he says, maintain your profession's ethics and conventions, and do not use inferior ways that you would be ashamed to declare. Keep in mind that the worker and the specialist have a duty towards the customer and clients who put their trust in them. Be sincere to them and never deceive them. This is because God the glorified watches you and knows about your deeds, and He will punish you sooner or later for cheating and betrayal. For cheating and betrayal are the most disgraceful of deeds and have the severest of results and consequences. So maintaining your work ethics is very important, not only in the dunya but even in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then he focuses his attention, at least I know one physician here. Let physicians in particular follow this advice more strictly, because they deal with people's bodies and minds. Therefore, let them not disobey the above advice, or they will face severe consequences, and in the hereafter God is watching, who is watching is close by. And then he refers to one of the ayat of Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, woe to the defrauders who use short measures, who when they measure a commodity bought from the people, take the full measure for themselves, but diminish when they measure or wait for their customers. Do they not know that they will be resurrected? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to hold them accountable for the fraud that they have done. And so Sistani adds there that furthermore the Prophet, may God's blessings be upon him and his progeny, said, God likes if you do a job. God likes that if you do a job, do it excellently. Referring to the students again, he says, also let college students and professors seek to encompass whatever is related to their field of specialty. So don't just go halfway. Go through in the whole dimension of your specialty that comes from various academic institutions, especially the science of medicine, in order for their knowledge and work to be on the cutting edge of latest standards. Do not be at the lower level. Go for the top level. He says, moreover, they should pay attention to advancing science themselves through useful scientific articles and pioneering discoveries, thereby rivaling other institutions of science as much as they can. They should disdain being mere students of others and mere consumers of tools and equipments others make. Rather, Sayyid Sistani says, instead, they should actively contribute to advancing science, just as their ancestors were pioneers and leaders of science in previous times. If you look at history, you will see that, Muslims, the whole issue of Renaissance in Europe, started after the lamp of knowledge was lit in Spain during the Muslim rule. Before that, when they talk about dark ages, of course, it doesn't mean the whole world was dark. It was Europe which was in darkness. And the lamp of knowledge was lit in Spain during the Muslim rule. And from there, you see this whole process of a Renaissance starting, to the extent that if you look at even medical science, this till about 150 or 200 years ago, the main textbook used in medical schools was the Canon of Medicine, which was a translation of Al-Qanun fi al-Tib, written by Abu al-Sina, a Shia, a Muslim philosopher and physician in his own right. And so this is what he's saying, that do not only be students and consumers of the inventions of others, rather you should actively contribute to advancing science, just as their ancestors were pioneers and leaders of science in previous times. And then he actually tells us that no generation is worthier than another. It's not that it was only for them in the past to become the pioneers and to advance. No, even we have that capability if we work hard. Therefore, you should nurture the young who have distinctive abilities, who possess genius, and who exhibit intelligence and excellence, even if they are from the lower classes and from poor families. Support them as you support your children, so they may reach the high levels of beneficial knowledge. You will be rewarded for the fruits of their endeavors, and your society and offspring will benefit from them. Salawat pढ़ने के बाद. And so this was the advice number 3 of Ayatullah Sistani to these young people from Europe, the university and college students, emphasizing the point that Muslims do not need to be just students and consumers of the new technology. They should actually play a leading role, and this is where they really have to work harder than others. Salawat पढ़ने के बाद. If you want to go and look at the entire, document, the website is there, or you can just, Google Ayatullah Sistani's advice to the students or to the youths, and you'll be able to find that. The point I would like to make is that, we are close to now Shab-e Qadr, and we will be remembering our Imam, whose name is our mark of identity, Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali bin Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam. And we call ourselves Shia. Historically, if you look at this name, and even in dictionaries of Arabic language, you will see they'll say, in the beginning it was Shi'atu Ali. But because, people always like to use shorter names, so the second word was deleted. Now, everywhere you go, in any book, wherever you see the word Shia, it automatically refers to the Shia of Ali. You don't have to say you are a Shia to Ali. It's just like, when the Prophet migrated from Mecca to the other city, the name was Yathrib. And when the Prophet reached there, they changed the name, and it became Madinatun Nabi, the city of the Prophet. But people didn't want to say that full name, so gradually it just became Medina. You never write anywhere Madinatun Nabi or Madinatul Rasul. Similarly, Shi'atu Ali was our full name, but now it has become shortened to just Shia. And when you look at Amir al-Mu'mineen, we being his followers and his Shia, we have to realize that the distinction of Amir al-Mu'mineen in the Ummah is on the issue of ilm. Many other things. But ilm was the main thing, where the Prophet says, Ana Madinatul ilm wa aliyun babuha. That I am the city of knowledge and Ali is the gate of that city. And so the issue of ilm has been so much emphasized that if you look at his conversation with Kumail bin Ziyad, one of his close companions, who was a shaheed and he was killed during the time of Hajjaj, who was the governor there, just because he was a Shia. Means this Mal'un had that habit of going and finding out that give me the list of those who were very close to Ali. And then if he could, catch them, arrest them, he would torture them and kill them. And one of them was Kumail. When you go for ziyarat in Kufa, there is a shrine. Make sure you do the ziyarat because you've been reciting Dua Kumail all the time. At least he has that haqq on you. And in one conversation in Nahj al-Balagha, Ali talks to Kumail and comparing the value of ilm to mal, wealth to knowledge. And he says that ilm is more important. Because number one, he says, ilm is something which will protect you. Whereas mal is something that you have to protect. And then he says, when you look at the issue of ilm, the more you use it, the knowledge, the more it would increase. I had to prepare to make a presentation here. It's not only for you, even I am, developing on my own. When you ask questions, I will have to go and find out. It's not only helping you, it's also helping myself. So sharing knowledge doesn't decrease what I have. It will actually increase. Whereas mal, the more you use it, the balance goes down. And then Amir al-Mu'minin says, if you look at the importance that those who have knowledge, their name and memory will last, even after centuries after they have died. But those who just accumulated money, had a good life, they died, their name also dies. Their wealth is going to be inherited by their children, and that's the end of their story. And so this is where Amir al-Mu'minin basically, talks about the importance of ilm. And then he says, if you look at the issue of who is hakim, who is mahkum, who rules and who is ruled, he says ilm is the one which is hakim. Knowledge, is the ruler, whereas wealth is ruled upon. And so that's where we see that, Amir al-Mu'minin has talked about it. Just going back to this statement of Ayatullah Sistani that do not just be mere consumers of new technology or students of new science, rather become pioneers and be the masters of new science. Just like, your ancestors had done this, they were pioneers of science in the previous times. Amir al-Mu'minin has a statement where he says, and this is only Ali, nobody else can do that. He talks about seeking knowledge. He says, become like a honeybee. He says, what does the honeybee do? It goes in the gardens and the plants and selects the best of the flowers. And that is its nutrition. But then what does it produce? It produces wax and honey. Wax is used to make the candles. To lit the candle and so you have light. And honey is considered to be the best of the food. And it says, so, be like the honey bee which selects the best of the flowers and produces something which is useful for the people. There is no wastage there. And this is where he talks about knowledge, that when you go, try to acquire the best in whatever field that you are doing and be beneficial for the society. Salawat. I would just like to visit one statement from yesterday's this one section of the advice that Ayatullah Sistani had given about early marriage, and especially talking about the guardians, especially when we talk about the wilayat that a father or a grandfather has on the daughters. That should not be used to prevent the daughters from getting married, and creating obstacles and prolonging their marriage age on basis of improper traditions not required by God, and it's not part of our religious values. The example he mentions was asking for exorbitant dowry, and the other was waiting for cousins and Sayyids. Among the Arabs, I mentioned yesterday that there is a tradition, it's a tribal custom that once the girls reach to the age of marriage, if there is a cousin of the same age or relevant to that, he would have first, in a way, first haqq. But if there's no proposal from the family, then outsiders would be accepted. Now, this is tribal custom. It has nothing to do with Islam or Shia fiqh. The other is the issue of, the issue of Sayyid. It's not to say that, you should not marry within the people of your own language, your own culture. It's actually something which you should always look for as far as the first approach is concerned. But ultimately, especially when you move to the western part of the world, where you're now interacting with the Shias from different ethnic, cultural background, this is where you have to now see, what do you do? Are you prolonging the marriage of your daughter just because you cannot find a suitable Sayyid, for example, or a Sayyid, or a suitable, same class, Kathiawari or Gujarati or Kutchi, no, or Arab or Irani. There, it's deen and akhlaq are the two things. Because everything else will change. But deen and mazhab has to continue. So you will see that in this part of the world, and as we move further, we have our children growing up in this part of the world, next generation, the generation after that, their vision has to be broader. That if they cannot find somebody within their own cultural, ethnic, background people, at least look for somebody who is a Shia Isna Ashari. Might be from a different cultural background. That would be much preferable than, going and getting somebody who is from a, for example, non-Muslim, Hindu or Sikh background. Where they come, Maulana, usko Shia hona hai, kalima padhaiye. And we know, it's a conversion for convenience. Even the generation after that, we don't know what is going to happen. And even when it comes to, not interfaith, but intra-faith marriages between Shia and Sunni, there are issues when it comes to the next generation. Initially they say, oh, Maulana, we are broad-minded, we'll let our children decide. They want to become Shia or Sunni. You as a parent, as a follower of Ali, it's your duty to make sure your children become Shia. You can't say, I'm broad-minded, we'll leave it to them. This is your religious duty. And so we have to sometimes, look at the realities and go beyond some of the cultural confines that we have put on ourselves. Again, I'm not saying don't just go for your own, cultural, ethnic background. No, that's fine. But if a situation comes, it is better than getting somebody from Hindu or Sikh background or a Christian background, compared to, let's say, a Shia from another ethnic, cultural background. At least the mazhab has been maintained. And I'll just give you one example here. How many of you remember this great personality? No? He was the universal marja after Ayatullah Khoui. Ayatullah Sayyid Muhammad Raza Gulpaigani. Okay? What is the color of his amama? Huh? Black. What does it mean? It's a sign that he is a Sayyid. There is another marja of our own time. This is his picture of his older, relatively older, younger age. And now he is very more much older now. Do you recognize him? He is one of the prominent, from the prominent Maharaja of Qom. No. The same name is Ayatullah Safi, Lutfullah Safi Gulpaigani, one of the senior Maharaji of Qom. Now, what is the relationship between him and him? He is the father-in-law, he is the son-in-law. What is the color of his amama? Huh? It's white. In the Shi'i tradition, whether it's Indian, Pakistani, Afghani, Irani, Iraqi, or Lebanese, the black turban is sign of Sayyid, and the white turban is sign of non-Sayyid. So you have a grand marja of the time. His marjaiyat was short-lived, but he was the universal marja at that time. There was no any other marja followed Ayatullah after Ayatullah Khoui. And his son-in-law, Safi Gulfaigani, may Allah prolong his life, he's a sheikh. But there's no issue there. This is where we have to realize that when it comes to the fiqh of Ahlul Bayt, it doesn't distinguish on the matters of marriage between the ethnic lines, as long as they have iman and taqwa. Everybody knows him. Imam Khomeini. What is the color of his amama? He is black. Everybody knows he is Sayyid. Sayyid Ruhullah al-Musawi al-Khomeini. He is not that much known here, but there is Sheikh Ishraqi. His son-in-law, he's passed away, his son-in-law of Imam Khomeini. So I'm just giving you two examples of the senior Maharaja of our own time, who were from Sayyid, background, but they had son-in-laws who were not Sayyid. And there is no qabahat, no karahat, nothing in our fiqh about it. Because the mazhab of Ahlul Bayt is a mazhab based on this sense of, equality of mu'mineen when it comes to this issue of marriage. If you see, there is a term used in history, mawali, in the early history of Islam. Mawali in history is plural of mawla, and it is used for non-Arabs who converted to Islam. And actually the concept you would understand. For example, Quraysh was the main tribe in Mecca. And if an outsider comes and decides to settle down in Mecca, he is not from any of the tribes of Quraysh or sub-tribes. It is the tribal security which gives you, security and safety for your life and your property. So all those outsiders who would come there, this is even before Islam, they had to link themselves to one or the other tribe. Whether they pay them something or whatever, and then they will be known as Mawla of this or that tribe. Literal meaning would be he is a client of that tribe, which means now whatever safety and security was for that tribe would be now extended for this outsider. Very similar to those of you who lived in Gulf states. If you want to do a business in Dubai or Saudi Arabia, you can't do it until you get a kafil from local person. So his, privilege is now, rights are now, extended to you as an outsider. So this is all Jahiliyyah system which is still going on. Okay? So those people, outsiders, would be known as Mawla or Mawali. And in the Sunni Khilafat, especially at the time of the second Khalifa, he actually divided this, the laws were devised in such a way that Arabs had preference over non-Arabs. Qurayshi would have preference over non-Qurayshi. Muhajir would have a preference over non-Muhajir. And this is where, so the non-Arab Muslims, known as Mawali, were treated as second-class citizens. For example, a non-Arab Muslim, even after conversion of years and years, could not marry an Arab woman. And this is where you see that when Amir al-Mu'minin Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam came to power, one of the things he did was he says, I'm going to thoroughly abolish all these discriminatory policies made by the previous administration, especially during the time of Umar ibn Khattab. And that is why he was disliked by the elite. The elite were used to that extra privileges given to them by the previous administration. Jamal happened because of that. Siffin happened because of that. And that is why you will see that majority of the Mawali during those days were attracted towards Ali and Ali Ali. Why? Because they saw that these are the people who treat us equally like the Arabs. They did not discriminate on the basis of their ethnicity and language and their racial backgrounds. Okay, so I'll just leave you with one more thought. Just think about it. Amir al-Mu'minin and Bibi Fatima Zahra salawatullah alayha, they were pure Arab, pure Qurayshi, pure Hashimi. So Hassan and Hussein are also pure Hashimi. What about Imam Zainul Abidin? %50 Arab, 50% Persian. The mother of Imam Zainul Abidin was from the Persian background. You go down the line. If you look at the mother of Imam Musa al-Kazim alayhi salam, Imam Riza alayhi salam, Imam Muhammad Taqi alayhi salam, Razavi Sadat are from Imam Muhammad Taqi. They are known as Razavi because Imam Raza alayhi salam's name was more famous. And the mother of Imam Muhammad Taqi came from northern Sudan. She was a Nubian, not even a Middle Eastern or an Arab. So all Razavi and Naqawi, Sadat have % of, Arab, African blood in them. So think about the reality. The main thing is Iman and Akhlaq and nothing else. All other things are just secondary. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
What's your name?
Kaimali.
Kaimali. Okay. No, not yet. Because the other one, one different to the other. Comes and goes. It's a few. नहीं no वो नहीं वो छोटे वाला मीसा में ना अच्छा let me ask you I don't know.